Hi you guys, today I'm going to show you how to make these gluten-free orange sweet rolls. These are just like those orange rolls from Pillsbury. You know the ones. They come out of a can and they never give you enough icing. There's orange in the filling and orange in the icing, and I have to say that the combination of orange and cinnamon just really works. No wonder Pillsbury ones were so popular. But we can make them gluten-free and we can make them better. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to do it. First, we need to make the dough because this has to rise and then chill overnight, or at least for 6 to 8 hours. Y'all know this dough by now. It's my gluten-free sweet dough, what I like to call my miracle dough. You've seen me make it numerous times, but I'll quickly give you the rundown. I've already got 1.5 cups or 360 ml of whole milk in the bowl of my stand mixer, and I'm adding to that 2 eggs and 200 grams or 1 cup of sugar. Now this is for a double batch of dough. It's like the full amount of dough, but the written recipe in this particular recipe lists amounts for only half of this for just making 1 pan of rolls. So just know that I'm making a double batch here. And I also put in 10 grams or 2 tablespoons of whole psyllium husks, along with 3/4 cup or 169 grams of softened butter, 2 tablespoons plus 1.5 teaspoons or 24 grams of instant yeast, 1 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3.5 cups or 490 grams of Kim's gluten-free bread flour blend. You have to use my bread flour blend. It will not come out quite the same if you don't. So we just get this on the stand mixer and we're going to knead it for 5 minutes. Scrape it into the center of the bowl, cover it, and let it rise until it's doubled in size. It'll look like this when it's fully risen. And now we'll put it in the fridge for at least 6 to 8 hours to chill properly. Okay, so let's make the filling before we get the dough out of the fridge. It's the next day now. And the filling consists of 1/2 cup or 113 grams of softened butter, 1 cup or 200 grams of light brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, and 1 tablespoon of freshly grated orange zest. And I'm just using my handheld mixer here to beat these together until it's just spreadable like this. Now we could take the dough out of the fridge. So I'm just going to weigh my entire dough because like I said, I'm making a double amount here so that I can then divide this in half. And this whole thing weighs 1332. So half of that would be 666. I don't like that number. So I'm just going to go around 660-ish. How about that? I'll put the rest of this away now for another recipe because, like I said, the written recipe is for half the dough. But I can put this in the fridge and use it for a million different recipes, all of which are listed on my website within this recipe post, actually. I'm going to knead this for just a few minutes quickly just to smooth it out before I start rolling it out into approximately a 12 by 16 inch rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect though. But I like to go more by the thickness of the dough, and I like to go pretty thin on this recipe because I like the dough to filling ratio to be pretty much 1-to-1. And if you have a really thick dough, then you're going to not have so much of the filling. So I go between about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick. But again, this isn't precision here. Just do your best. Okay, now that we've got it all rolled out, I'm going to spread the filling and I'm going to leave about 1/2 an inch at one of the long ends here. Make sure you get filling to filling, every corner of that covered in that filling. And this filling, it already smells so darn good in my kitchen. You can really smell the orange. And now all we need to do is roll it up. I'm going to roll it as tightly as possible. And kind of pinch the seam there at the end. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm going to put it in the freezer and freeze it for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that just helps me get more precise rolls out of it. You do not have to do this step, especially if your kitchen is cold. Right now, my kitchen is pretty warm, so that's why I'm doing this. When I made this video, I started cutting these into 8 extra large rolls, like I normally do with my cinnamon rolls. But halfway through cutting, I really decided I wanted to make smaller rolls, more manageable for one person to eat, or like more like the Pillsbury style that we used to get, that were the perfect little roll for just when you want a little something for breakfast or a little sweet snack or whatever. Okay, I'm arranging these in my 9 by 13 inch greased baking pan, and I'm going to cover them with plastic wrap and let them rise until they're nearly doubled in size. And towards the end of the rise, start preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, as you can see, these have risen nicely. They're now touching one another, and they'll rise even more with the oven spring in the oven. But one more thing to gild the lily just a little bit, I decided to jump on that TikTok cinnamon roll bandwagon and see how this cream really works. And I have to say, it really does work to make gooier rolls. You can leave this out, but if you want to have those extra gooey rolls, heat up about a quarter cup or 600 ml of heavy cream in the microwave for about 30 seconds, just until it's pretty warm, and drizzle that over your rolls. And we'll get these into the oven at 350 for 25 to 35 to maybe even 40 minutes, depending on the size of your rolls. So 25 for smaller, 35 for larger. So now we can make the icing, and this is just 4 ounces or 113 grams of very soft cream cheese that I'm just going to start whisking until it's smooth. And then I'm adding in 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of very soft butter as well as a quarter teaspoon salt, a half a teaspoon of orange zest, a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, give or take. You know how I am with vanilla extract. 1 1/4 cups or 156 grams of powdered sugar, and 2 tablespoons or 28 ml of freshly squeezed orange juice. Just use the orange juice from the oranges that you already zested. I'll whisk half of this in at first, and then the rest, just to avoid any lumps of powdered sugar. Okay, this looks great. I like the consistency of this. You can go with more orange juice if you want it even thinner. So let's get our rolls out of the oven. Here they are, you guys. If you could smell my kitchen right now, it smells heavenly. You can really smell that little bit of orange that's already in the rolls. And I saw this on the Vanilla Bean blog. I'll leave a link in the written recipe on my blog for her particular recipe. But what she does is, right out of the oven, she puts a little bit of her icing onto every one of her warm rolls, and it kind of sinks in, and that just makes even more gooiness to the rolls, and it really does work. So you don't have to do that either. You can Just put the rest of the icing on after they've cooled for about 10 minutes or so. And that is it, you guys. Just look at the squish of these orange rolls. I mean, they're insane, right? You never would guess that these are gluten-free rolls. My husband and son, who are both gluten eating people, tell me all the time that they'd rather prefer any of my rolls over a Cinnabon any day. If that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. But not only is the texture superior to any kind of gluten-free rolls out there, the flavor combination of orange and cinnamon in these rolls is just outrageous, you guys. So bright and so citrusy and so darn good. Enjoy.